So the first thing in the heart is you want to think about the outside structure, so the apex of the heart. Then you have the coronary sulcus, which goes around the edge of the heart here, where the atria are. Remember, the atria are really small. Where the atria flap over the coronary sulcus are called the auricles. When you see the inside of the heart, first thing you want to identify is the left ventricle. You want to look for the largest heart wall in here, and that's this side and this side. Remember, these go together like this. So this side and this side is the left ventricle. That means this over here is the right ventricle. That means any valves going into there have to be AV valves. So this is the left AV valve. Here's another part of it. On this side is the right AV valve. Here's another part of the right AV valve. That means whatever structure is above it belongs to that side. So on this side, here you have the left atrium. Here's another piece of the left atrium. On this side is the right ventricle. So you have the right atrium and the right atrium in there. So right AV valve, left AV valve. Now, the pulmonary valves are harder to see because they're up in the top of where the ventricle exits, and they're going to exit into the aortic arch. So the pulmonary valves may not be, the semilunar valves may not be on there because they're really hard to see in this cross section. So we have the valve, we have the chordae tendineae, which are these string-like tendons, and then they'll go down to the papillary muscles. This side's a little bit easier to see it. Chordae tendineae, papillary muscles. Interventricular septum, right here, that divides the, it's not there because that's the outside wall. So we're going to look for the inside wall that divide the two ventricles. So these are the interventricular septum. When we think about the right atrium, this is where blood comes into the heart, goes through the right ventricle, and then gets pushed through the pulmonary semilunar valve. There's some holes in the right atrium that we need to know about. Matt, what are the three things that dump into the right atrium? The three vessels.
Coronary sinus, superior vena cava, and inferior vena cava.
Okay, so superior vena cava is up here, so you can actually stick a finger through that. It comes from the top of the heart and goes into that right atrium. Okay, this inferior vena cava comes from here, and it's split off, and then it goes into there. Okay? On the back here, you see this right here. That's the coronary sinus. So the coronary sinus, inferior vena cava, superior vena cava all dump into the right atrium. The rest of these vessels are really hard to see, which is the pulmonary trunk and which is the arteriole. What I'm going to try to do is leave the left ventricle right there. Okay, so I'm leaving the left ventricle through a valve. When you leave the left side of the heart through a valve, that's a semilunar valve, and it's leaving the left side, so it's going to the whole body, systemic, so it's got to be aortic semilunar valve. So this is the aorta here. It's all kind of split up. Okay, and I think that's about it on